Good evening, dear listeners, or should I say fellow wanderers into the abyss. Welcome to the shadow behind you, where the veil between the living and the forgotten thins to a whisper, and the echoes of cursed bloodlines claw their way back into our world. I'm your host, the one who lingers in the dim corners of history, unearthing tales that time itself tried to bury. Tonight, we delve into a story that clings to the soil of Oklahoma like blood-stained roots. The sinister case of the Ashcroft sisters that haunted a town. Imagine, if you will, the year 1921. The air in Tulsa hangs heavy with the scent of oil, black gold bubbling from the earth, promising riches to those bold enough to seize it. But beneath the boomtown facade, tensions simmer like a pot left too long on the fire. Whispers of unrest snake through the streets, jealousy over thriving black communities, whispers of white supremacy fanned by the winds of post-war paranoia. And in the midst of this powder keg stood the Ashcroft family, a name once synonymous with prosperity, now forever etched in shadow. Eleanor and Vivian Ashcroft, the sisters at the heart of our tale, were daughters of privilege. Born into a lineage of land barons and oil speculators, they moved through Tulsa's high society like ghosts in silk gowns, pale, ethereal, with eyes that seemed to pierce the soul. Eleanor, the elder at 25, possessed a sharp intellect and a tongue that could cut like a razor, her raven hair pinned in elegant coils that framed a face of porcelain fragility. Vivian, just 20, was her mirror in softness, with auburn curls and a laugh that tinkled like shattered glass, innocent yet hiding depths untold. They lived in a grand Victorian manor on the outskirts of the Greenwood district, that vibrant enclave known as Black Wall Street, where black entrepreneurs built empires from nothing, their success a thorn in the side of envious neighbors. But success breeds shadows, doesn't it? And in Tulsa that spring, the shadows grew long. On May 30th, a spark ignited. A young black man, Dick Rowland, accused of assaulting a white elevator operator in a downtown building. The newspapers fanned the flames with sensational headlines, whipping the white populace into a frenzy. Whispers turned to shouts, mobs formed under the cover of night, armed by deputies who looked the other way. And as the first fires licked the sky on May 31st, the Ashcroft sisters found themselves ensnared in a nightmare that would transcend the mortal coil. What happened to Eleanor and Vivian that fateful night? Did they vanish into the smoke-choked chaos, their bodies lost amid the rubble? Or did something far more insidious claim them? A curse born of guilt, a spectral pact sealed in blood. Reports from survivors speak of two pale figures wandering the burning streets, their dresses unstained by ash, calling out names in voices that chilled the bone. But these were no ordinary women. They moved through flames unscathed, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly fire. And in the years that followed, as Tulsa rebuilt its facade of normalcy, the sisters returned, not in flesh, but in formless dread. Apparitions in mirrors, whispers in the wind. Unexplained deaths that mirrored the horrors of that night. Why, you might ask, does this tale grip us so? Because it isn't just a ghost story, it's a reckoning. The Ashcroft sisters didn't merely haunt a town, they embodied its unspoken sins, forgotten bloodlines. Oh, yes, theirs intertwined with the vanished families of Greenwood, whose homes were reduced to cinders. Cursed institutions, the very pillars of Tulsa society, built on land soaked in atrocity, vanishing families. Entire lineages erased in a single night of terror, only to rise again through the sisters' vengeful specters. As we peel back the layers tonight, feel the chill creep up your spine. The air grows thicker, doesn't it? The shadows in your room seem to shift, as if listening. For in uncovering the Ashcroft sisters, we invite their gaze upon us. They watch from the corners, waiting for the truth to be spoken. Or silenced forever. Lean in closer, dear listener. The storm is just beginning. Let the tale unfold, and remember, in the quiet after midnight, the shadow behind you might not be your own. Tulsa in 1921 was a city of contrasts, oil derricks piercing the sky like skeletal fingers, while horse-drawn carriages clattered alongside gleaming Model Ts. The Greenwood district pulsed with life, jars spilling from clubs, entrepreneurs in tailored suits negotiating deals that rivaled Wall Street. But envy festered. White Tulsans, many fresh from the trenches of World War I, eyed Greenwood's prosperity with resentment. Jim Crow laws enforced separation, but the invisible barriers of hatred were far more dangerous. The Ashcroft Manor, perched on a hill overlooking the district, was a bastion of old money, built in the late 1800s by their grandfather, a Confederate veteran who struck oil post-Civil War. It featured towering turrets, stained glass windows depicting biblical scenes of judgment, and a sprawling garden where roses bloomed blood red year-round. Inside, crystal chandeliers cast flickering light on Persian rugs, and the walls whispered secrets of family fortunes built on displaced lands, Native American territories seized, black labor exploited. Eleanor, with her love of literature and forbidden occult tombs, often retreated to the attic library, poring over books on spiritualism and ancient curses. Vivian, more whimsical, tended the garden, humming tunes from the jazz clubs she sneaked to under cover of night. Their father, Harlan Ashcroft, a stern patriarch with a mustache like iron bristles, was a key figure in Tulsa's elite circles. He owned shares in railroads that cut through Greenwood, and rumors swirled that he coveted the land for expansion. As May drew to a close, the sisters sensed the gathering storm. Eleanor confided in her diary, discovered years later in the manor's ruins, of vivid dreams, flames devouring the city, spectral figures rising from the ashes, pointing accusatory fingers at her family. Vivian spoke of hearing voices in the wind, calling names of the unjustly slain. Were these premonitions, or the first stirrings of a curse? On the evening of May 30th, as Dick Rowland was arrested, the sisters attended a society gathering downtown. Whispers of lynching filled the air, and Eleanor, ever the bold one, argued against the mob mentality, her voice cutting through the cigar smoke. "This madness will consume us all," she warned, but her words fell on deaf ears. Vivian, wide-eyed, clutched her sister's arm as they hurried home under a moonless sky. Little did they know the shadow was already upon them. That night, as Tulsa slept uneasily, the sisters awoke to strange noises, knocking at the manor doors, though no one was there. Windows rattled without wind, and in the garden the roses wilted overnight, their petals turning black as if scorched. Dawn broke on May 31st, and hell descended. Mobs surged into Greenwood, torches blazing, guns firing. The air filled with acrid smoke, screams piercing the morning. From their hilltop vantage, the Ashcroft sisters watched in horror as Black Wall Street burned. Harlan Ashcroft, it said, joined the deputies, arming himself to protect property. But Eleanor and Vivian, they defied him, slipping out to aid the fleeing residents, smuggling families through hidden paths in the garden. Yet something changed that day. Witnesses, survivors who later whispered their tales in shadowed corners, spoke of seeing the sisters amid the chaos, their forms flickering like candle flames. One man, a jazz musician escaping with his saxophone, claimed Eleanor touched his shoulder, her hand ice, cold, whispering, "Run and remember." But as he looked back, she vanished into the smoke. By nightfall, over 35 blocks lay in ruins. Hundreds dead, thousands homeless. The Ashcroft Manor stood untouched, a mocking sentinel. But the sisters? Gone. Harlan returned to find their rooms empty, beds unmade, diaries open to pages scrawled with frantic warnings. The shadows rise. They claim their due. Searches yielded nothing. No bodies, no traces. Tulsa whispered of abduction, of flight, of murder. But as weeks turned to months, the hauntings began. A shopkeeper in downtown Tulsa saw two pale women in his mirror, their eyes pleading. A child in the rebuilt Greenwood heard laughter, like shattering glass in an empty alley. And Harlan Ashcroft, he wasted away, muttering of curses before dying alone, his last words, "They watch me still." Dear listener, this is but the prelude. The Ashcroft sisters didn't merely disappear. They transcended, becoming the very embodiment of Tulsa's guilt. As we venture deeper into their narrative, feel the chill deepen. The air grows colder, the whispers louder. For in remembering them, we awaken what was meant to stay buried. Now, let us step fully into the heart of the darkness, where the Ashcroft sisters' tale unfolds like a shroud unraveling in the wind. Picture Tulsa on the eve of destruction, May 30th, 1921. The city thrums with uneasy energy. Oil lamps flicker in windows, casting long shadows across cobblestone streets. In the Greenwood district, laughter spills from cafes where families gather over soul food, unaware that envy sharpens its blade just beyond the tracks. At the Ashcroft Manor, perched like a watchful raven on its hill, the evening unfolds in deceptive normalcy. Harlan Ashcroft, a man forged in the fires of ambition, paces the study. His face, weathered by years of deal-making, twists in frustration. Those upstarts in Greenwood think they can rise above their station. He mutters to his associates, gathered around a mahogany table laden with whiskey and cigars. Harlan's wealth stems from railroads and oil, but his eyes gleam with greed for more, specifically the fertile land of Black Wall Street ripe for redevelopment. Upstairs, Eleanor Ashcroft sits at her vanity, brushing her raven hair with deliberate strokes. The mirror reflects a woman of quiet intensity, her green eyes holding secrets. She's no stranger to her father's machinations. She's overheard his rants against the encroachment of black prosperity. But Eleanor harbors a rebellious spirit, influenced by the suffragette movement and clandestine readings of Edgar Allan Poe and Madame Blavatsky's occult works. Feather sees only profit. She confides to Vivian, who lounges on the bed, twisting a lock of auburn hair. But I see the storm brewing. Dreams plague me, flames, Vivian, and faces in the smoke, accusing us. Vivian, younger and more impulsive, laughs it off at first. You're always buried in those dusty books, sister. It's just nerves from the heat. But her laughter rings hollow. Vivian has her own secrets. Late night excursions to Greenwood's jazz halls, where the rhythms pulse like a forbidden heartbeat. She's befriended a young black seamstress named Leela, who crafts dresses for her in exchange for stories of high society. The world beyond our walls is alive, Vivian whispers. Not like this tomb of a house. As twilight deepens, the sisters prepare for the society gala downtown. Eleanor dons an emerald gown that shimmers like serpent scales, while Vivian chooses crimson silk, bold and defiant. They descend the grand staircase, arm in arm, their father's approving nod masking his indifference. In the carriage ride to the event, the city reveals its fractures, white crowds milling outside the courthouse, muttering about the day's incident, the elevator mishap involving Dick Rowland and Sarah Page. They'll hang him by dawn, a passerby snarls, and Eleanor's grip tightens on Vivian's hand. The gala is a whirlwind of crystal and chatter, held in an opulent hall adorned with chandeliers that drip light like melting ice. Tulsa's elite swirl in dances, but undercurrents of tension ripple through. Harlan schmoozes with city officials, his voice booming about maintaining order. Eleanor, overhearing a group plotting vigilante justice, can't hold her tongue. This is madness, she interjects, her voice slicing the air. Innocent until proven guilty. Or have we forgotten the law? Gasps follow, but one man, a deputy with a badge gleaming like a threat, leers, "Mind your place, miss." The Negroes need reminding. Vivian pulls her away, heart pounding. "Eleanor, you'll get us in trouble." But as they slip into the night air for respite, a chill descends despite the warm May breeze. In the alley behind the hall, they hear whispers, not human but ethereal like leaves rustling secrets. Justice comes, a voice murmurs, and Vivian spins, seeing nothing but shadows. Back home, the manor feels oppressive. Harlan retires early, grumbling about troublesome daughters. The sisters retreat to their shared sitting room, where a fireplace crackles mockingly. Eleanor pulls out her diary, inking frantic entries. The air thickens with foreboding. I feel eyes upon us from beyond. Vivian, trying to lighten the mood, plays a phonograph record, a jazz tune from Greenwood. But as the needle scratches, the music warps, slowing to a dirge, voices emerging that aren't on the record. Blood will flow, sleep eludes them. Around midnight, knocks echo at the front door, insistent, rhythmic. Eleanor, candle in hand, descends with Vivian trailing. The door swings open to emptiness. No caller, just the night staring back. But on the threshold, a single black rose lies, petals unfurling like a warning. Dawn breaks on May 31st, and Tulsa erupts. Newspapers scream headlines: "Nab Negro for attacking girl in elevator." Mobs assemble, armed and furious. Harlan, summoned by associates, arms himself and leaves, barking, "Stay inside!" But the sisters watch from the turret window as smoke rises from Greenwood. Screams carry on the wind, gunshots popping like firecrackers. Defiant surges. "We can't just watch!" Vivian cries. They don cloaks and slip out the back, through the garden's hidden gate, a path used for Vivian's secret jaunts. The streets are chaos, families fleeing with what they can carry, white mobs torching homes. The air reeks of burning wood and fear, sweat. Eleanor and Vivian reach a side street, where Leela huddles with her family. "Come with us," Eleanor urges, leading them back to the manor via underbrush. But as they cross a burning lot, something shifts. A figure emerges from the flames. A spectral woman, dress charred, eyes hollow. "You cannot save what is already damned," she intones, pointing at the sisters. Vivian screams, and the vision vanishes. Back at the manor, they hide Leela's family in the cellar. Harlan returns briefly, face suit-streaked, eyes wild. "What have you done?" he roars upon discovering them. "This will ruin us." Argument ensues. Eleanor stands firm. "This is humanity, father!" But as night falls, the mobs draw nearer, flames illuminating the hill. Strange occurrences multiply. Mirrors crack without touch, lights flicker, whispers fill the halls. "Repent or join us." In the dead of night, with the city ablaze, the sisters venture out again, drawn by an inexplicable pull. Witnesses later recount seeing them, two luminous figures amid the inferno, guiding stragglers to safety. But one account chills deepest. A survivor saw Eleanor touch a wounded man, healing his burns instantly, her eyes glowing. "Witches?" he muttered. As dawn approaches on June 1st, the massacre wanes, leaving devastation. Harlan searches for his daughters, but they're gone. The manor echoes empty, save for diaries left open. The shadows claim us. We become the bridge between worlds. What befell them? Did the mobs claim them in retribution? Or did the curses of the slain pull them into the ether? The hauntings started soon after. A railroad worker, Harlan's employee, found black roses on his pillow, wilting to ash. He died that night, whispering of pale sisters. Downtown in the rebuilt courthouse, clerks heard laughter in empty rooms, documents rearranging to reveal hidden truths about the massacre. The town whispered. The Ashcroft sisters had become guardians, or avengers. Their forms appeared in Greenwood's ruins, weeping over graves, or in white homes, staring accusingly from windows. Harlan, tormented, boarded up the manor, but it didn't stop. He found their gowns in his bed, stained with phantom blood. As months passed, Tulsa tried to forget, but the sisters ensured it couldn't. A prominent businessman, involved in the mobs, saw them in his mirror, throats slit. He confessed before hanging himself. Children in schools recited lessons, only to hear whispers correcting history's lies. Dear listener, the narrative deepens still. In Part 2, we plunge into the heart of their spectral reign, the conflicts, the chilling events that cemented their curse upon the town. As the embers of Tulsa's inferno cooled, the true horror of the Ashcroft sisters began to unfold, not in flames, but in the creeping dread that seeped into every crevice of the town. June 1921 dawned on a city in ruins, Greenwood smoldering, over 1,000 homes destroyed, bodies carted away in secret to mass graves. Official counts claimed 36 dead, but whispers spoke of hundreds, black lives erased like chalk from a board. Amid this, the disappearance of Eleanor and Vivian Ashcroft loomed like a thundercloud, their absence birthing a legend that would haunt Tulsa for generations. Harlan Ashcroft, shattered, hired private investigators. They scoured the rubble, questioned survivors, but found only enigmas. One detective uncovered a scorched locket in Greenwood's ashes, Vivian's, engraved with "Eternal Sisters." Inside, not a photo, but a scrap of paper. The debt is paid in blood. Harlan dismissed it as forgery, but that night he awoke to find the locket on his nightstand. Open, the note gone, replaced by a drop of fresh blood. The first confirmed haunting struck in July. A white family, whose patriarch had torched homes in Greenwood, moved into a new residence built on cleared land. At midnight, knocks echoed. 3 sharp raps, like a summons. The door opened to 2 women, Eleanor and Vivian, dresses immaculate, faces pale as moonlight. "You built on bones," Eleanor intoned, her voice a chorus of echoes. Vivian extended a hand, and the man felt ice pierce his heart. He collapsed, dead. The family fled, but the apparitions lingered, seen by neighbors wandering the yard weeping. Word spread like wildfire. In Greenwood, rebuilding tentatively, the sisters appeared differently, as protectors. A widow, scavenging bricks for her home, saw them materialize, stacking materials with unseen hands. "We're tone," Vivian whispered, her form translucent. The widow felt warmth, not fear, and her crops grew bountiful that season, defying drought. Conflicts arose as Tulsa's elite tried to suppress the tales. Harlan, now reclusive in the manor, hosted meetings with city officials. "Superstition," he scoffed. But during one gathering, chandeliers swayed, glasses shattered, and whispers filled the room, names of the massacre's victims. One official, a deputy who'd armed the mobs, choked on air, clawing his throat as if strangled by invisible hands. He survived, but babbled of sisters' vengeance. By autumn, the hauntings escalated. Downtown Tulsa, in the Drexel building where the elevator incident sparked it all, elevator operators reported malfunctions, cars stopping on non-existent floors, doors opening to reveal the sisters, arms outstretched. One operator, a young white man, stepped in and vanished for hours. Found cowering, he spoke of being transported to burning Greenwood, forced to witness atrocities. "They made me see," he sobbed. In the Ashcroft garden, now overgrown, black roses bloomed eternally. Trespassers, curious teens or looters, heard laughter, felt tugs on clothing. One boy emerged with scratches forming words, "Remember." Harlan, tormented, set fire to the garden, but the flames twisted into shapes. 2 women dancing, before extinguishing harmlessly. Vivian's jazz connections added a melodic terror. In Kane's ballroom, a venue pulsing with post-massacre resilience, musicians heard phantom tunes, slow, mournful jazz blending with screams. The Lady in Red, apparition often linked to other ghosts, was claimed by some to be Vivian, her crimson gown a beacon. Bob Wills himself, performing there later, paused mid-song, swearing he saw an auburn-haired woman in the crowd, vanishing when spotlit. Eleanor's intellectual side manifested in libraries and schools. Books on the massacre, scarce, as history was buried, flew from shelves, pages turning to reveal suppressed truths. Teachers found diaries in desks, Eleanor's handwriting detailing family sins, Harlan's role in inciting mobs, profiting from seized land. One principal, denying the events as riot, not massacre, awoke to find his office wallpapered in newspaper clippings, sisters' faces staring from photos. Thematic tensions built white Tulsa Vez, black resilience. In Greenwood's rebuilt churches, like Vernon AME, the sisters appeared during services, nodding approval. But in white congregations, sermons halted as hymnals flipped to passages of judgment, voices chanting, "Repent." Harlan's decline peaked in winter. Alone in the manor, he heard footsteps ascending stairs, doors slammed, portraits wept blood. One night, confronting the attic, he found Eleanor and Vivian manifested, ethereal yet solid. "Father, the curse binds us," Eleanor said. "Your greed birthed it." Vivian added, "We haunt until truth frees us." Harlan lunged, but they dissolved, leaving him stricken. He died that night, heart failed, face frozen in terror. Post-Harlan, the manor became a focal point. Squatters reported poltergeist activity, furniture moving, fires igniting spontaneously. A developer eyeing the land, bulldozed part, only for machinery to fail, operators seeing sisters in cabs, whispering warnings. The site remains undeveloped, a cursed plot. Decades passed, but the hauntings persisted. In the 1940s, during WW, soldiers home on leave saw them at train stations, pointing to forgotten graves. In the 1960s civil rights era, activists in Tulsa felt guided, documents appearing mysteriously, leading to early calls for reparations. Chilling moments abound. A child in 1930s Greenwood found a doll resembling Vivian, which spoke, "Tell our story." It vanished when adults approached. In 1950s, a reporter investigating the massacre heard recordings warp. Sisters' voices emerging, the vanished return. The sisters' forms evolved, sometimes benevolent, aiding the oppressed, other times vengeful, targeting deniers. A 1970s city official, blocking memorials, drove off a bridge, swearing pale women blocked the road. As we approach modern times, the haunting, subtle, digital glitches in archives, showing spectral faces, whispers in podcasts about the massacre. But the core remains, the Ashcroft sisters, bound by curse, haunting Tulsa until atonement. Dear listener, feel the weight. Their story isn't over, it's woven into history's fabric. Now, let us explore that fabric, the real events and legends that birthed this nightmare. To truly grasp the sinister web of the Ashcroft sisters, we must unearth the soil from which their curse sprang, the turbulent history of 1921 Oklahoma, where fact and folklore entwine like vines over forgotten graves. Tulsa wasn't born in isolation. It rose from the ashes of native dispossession and the scars of slavery's aftermath. Let us journey back, blending documented truths with the eerie legends that locals whisper to this day, creating an unsettling authenticity that chills the bone. Oklahoma in the early 20th century was a land of rapid transformation. Once Indian territory, forcibly settled after the Trail of Tears and land runs, it boomed with oil discovery in 1901. Tulsa, dubbed the oil capital of the world, swelled to over 100,000 souls by 1921, a mix of opportunists, veterans, and migrants. But beneath the prosperity lurked deep divisions. Jim Crow laws segregated society, enforcing white supremacy through lynchings and intimidation. The Greenwood District exemplified black resilience. Founded by entrepreneurs like O.W. Gurley, it became Black Wall Street, a self-sustaining haven with banks, theaters, and businesses thriving despite oppression. By 1921, it boasted over 600 enterprises, from the Dreamland Theater to luxury hotels. Yet, this success bred resentment. White Tulsans, many influenced by the resurgent Ku Klux Klan as boasting 200 members in Tulsa alone, viewed it as a threat. Post-WWI tensions amplified this. Returning black veterans emboldened by service demanded equality, clashing with white fears of uprising. Into the spark, May 30, 1921. Dick Rowland, a 19-year-old black Shoshana, entered an elevator operated by Sarah Page, a white teenager. What transpired? Likely an accidental stumble, morphed into assault rumors via sensational journalism. The Tulsa Tribune's inflammatory headline, later excised from archives, screamed of lynching calls. By evening, mobs gathered at the courthouse where Rowland was held. June 1st unleashed hell. Armed white deputized mobs, some with machine guns and even airplanes dropping firebombs, invaded Greenwood. Over 18 hours they looted, burned, and murdered. Official toll, 36 dead. Historians estimate 100-300, mostly black, with 8,000 homeless. The American Red Cross provided aid, but city officials hindered, even proposing to seize land for industrial use. Survivors lived in tents through winter, many fleeing forever. This massacre wasn't isolated. It echoed Red Summer, 1919 riots nationwide, where white violence suppressed black advancement. In Oklahoma, similar atrocities scarred places like the 1917 Dewey riot. Folklore blends here. Legends of cursed lands, from native spirits displaced by oil barons. Cherokee tales speak of shadow walkers, ghosts of the unjustly slain haunting oppressors. In Tulsa, post-massacre whispers evolved. Survivors reported pale watchers. In the smoke, perhaps early Ashcroft manifestations. Culturally, the event fused with Oklahoma's ghostly lore. The state brims with haunts, Kane's ballrooms, Lady in Red. Tied to 1920s speakeasies, the Tulsa Theater's Enrico Caruso, who fell ill after performing in 1920, dying in 1921. Legends claim his spirit lingers, coughing in empty seats. The Cave House, a 1920s speakeasy disguised as a restaurant, harbors tunnels where bootleggers hid. Ghosts of flappers and gangsters whisper there, blending Prohibition era with massacre echoes. Gilcrease Museum, housing native artifacts, reports apparitions. Perhaps Thomas Gilcrease himself, who collected amid oil wealth built on disputed lands. Fort Reno, 1870s outpost, sees cold spots and footsteps linked to Cheyenne prisoners. These sites form a tapestry, Oklahoma's history of displacement, native, black, immigrant, birthing restless spirits. In the Ashcroft context, fictional yet rooted, their family embodies white privilege. Invented as oil speculators, They mirror real figures like those profiting from post-massacre land grabs. Legends say cursed bloodlines stem from pacts with dark forces. Perhaps Harlan's ancestors invoked spirits for wealth, backfiring in 1921. Folklore amplifies. Black oral traditions speak of avenging sisters. White women turn spectral allies, atoning for sins. In Greenwood rebuilds, tales of helpful ghosts match Ashcroft descriptions. White folklore fears them as harbingers, appearing before misfortunes, like the 1920s droughts or 1930s dust bowl seen as curses. Educational yet eerie. The Tulsa Race Massacre Commission 2001 uncovered mass graves, echoing legends of unmarked burials where spirits roam. Archaeological surveys at Oaklawn Cemetery revealed anomalies, cold spots, equipment failures attributed to unrestful dead. Blend fact and myth. The Vernon A.M. Church, sole surviving structure, hosts whisper services. Congregants hear voices during prayers reciting victim names. Cultural trauma persists. Reparations debates invoke ghost debts, unpaid sins haunting descendants. Oklahoma's broader legends. Belle Starr's grave in Porum, where her bandit spirit roams. Gravity Hill near Arcadia, where invisible hands push cars. Tied to tragic accidents, mirror Ashcroft's push for remembrance. In this context, the sisters symbolize erased history. As Tulsa hid the massacre, removing news, omitting from books, their hauntings force reckoning. Modern echoes. 2021 centennial event saw sightings, pale figures at memorials, perhaps psychological yet unsettling. Dear listener, this history isn't dry facts, it's alive, pulsing with the eerie. It sets the stage for deeper dives into the psyche. Why these tales endure, connecting to universal fears. Now, as the veil thins further, let us dissect the Ashcroft sisters' tale, not with scalpel, but with the dim light of analysis, revealing symbolic bones and psychological sinews. This isn't mere ghost story. It's a mirror to humanity's darkest recesses, connecting to universal fears, cultural traumas, and the shadowed corners of the soul. Maintain your vigilance, listener. These themes may stir shadows within you. Symbolically, the sisters embody duality, privilege and penance, flesh and phantom. Eleanor, the intellectual, represents suppressed knowledge, her diaries as forbidden tomes, unveiling family sins. Vivian, the whimsical, symbolizes lost innocence, her jazz tales linking to Greenwood's vibrant culture crushed underfoot. Together, they form a cursed dyad. Like the Gemini constellation, twins bound eternally, haunting as one. The manor itself symbolizes institutional rot, Victorian grandeur masking decay, much like Tulsa's facade post-massacre. Its turrets pierce the sky, echoing oil derricks, phallic symbols of exploitation. The black roses, death and rebirth, thorny reminders of blood-soaked soil. Mirrors, cracking and revealing apparitions, symbolize self-reflection denied. Tulsa's elite avoided gazing at their guilt, so the sisters force it. Psychologically, the tale taps Jungian shadows, the repressed aspects of the collective unconscious. Harlan's greed mirrors the white psyche's fear of the other, projecting onto black success. The massacre is collective hysteria, mob psychology amplified by post-war PTSD, clan ideology fueling dissociation. The sisters' disappearance, a manifestation of guilt projection. White society, vanishing, their complicity only for it to return spectral. Universal fears abound, the fear of retribution. Humans dread the boomerang of injustice. The sisters personify karma, haunting deniers. Fear of the unknown, their ethereal forms evoke the uncanny valley. Familiar yet alien, stirring primal unease. Fear of erasure, vanishing families reflect genocide's horror, from native removals to Holocaust, reminding us history's ghosts demand remembrance. Cultural trauma. In Oklahoma, layered dispossessions, native black, create a palimpsest of pain. The Ashcroft curse echoes native legends of Wendigos, hunger spirits born of greed, or African diaspora tales of haints, unrestful slaves seeking justice. In American context, it connects to Salem witches, women punished for defiance, or Southern Gothic, like Faulkner's haunted houses symbolizing decayed aristocracy. Human nature's dark side, the story probes complicity. Eleanor and Vivian's aid attempts highlight bystander guilt. Too little, too late. Their transformation into Avengers questions redemption. Can privilege atone, or is it eternally damned? Themes of feminism emerge, sisters defying patriarchal Harlan, their hauntings empowering subverting victimhood. Ominous intellectual tone, consider Freud's uncanny. The familiar made strange. The sisters' laughter in empty rooms evokes this, blending joy with terror. Existentially, it questions mortality, death not end, but echo forcing confrontation with legacy. Connections broaden to modern issues like systemic racism, where ghosts of slavery haunt policy. Reparations debates in Tulsa mirror the sisters. Debt paid in blood. Psychological studies on trauma show intergenerational effects. Descendants of massacre survivors report vivid dreams, akin to the sisters' premonitions. Thematically, it's about narrative control, who tells history. Tulsa's suppression birthed the hauntings, silence breeds specters. In folklore studies, such tales serve catharsis, allowing communities to process unspeakable events. Yet beware, romanticizing the story underscores real suffering. The sisters, fictional proxies, humanize abstract horrors, but remind us of actual victims. Nameless in graves, their spirits perhaps the true haunters. As analysis deepens, feel the intellectual chill. These themes linger, questioning your own shadows. Now, as we conclude, let the tale's echo resound. And so, dear wanderers, we reach the twilight of our tale. The sinister case of the Ashcroft sisters, a specter that clings to Tulsa's soul like mist on the Arkansas River. We've traversed the flames of 1921, unraveled hauntings that bridge worlds, and probed the abyss of human darkness. Now let us summarize this chilling saga, leaving you with questions that echo in the quiet hours. The Ashcroft sisters, Eleanor and Vivian, vanished amid the Tulsa massacre's inferno, a cataclysm born of envy, supremacy, and greed. Their disappearance, shrouded in mystery, birthed a curse, spectral guardians avenging forgotten atrocities, haunting the guilty while protecting the oppressed. From black roses blooming eternally to whispers correcting history's lies, their presence ensured Tulsa could never fully bury its sins. Harlan's demise, the manor's decay, the town's persistent apparitions, all threads in a web of retribution. Yet this isn't mere folklore, it's a cautionary echo. In a world where injustices persist, mass graves uncovered, reparations debated, the sisters remind us ignored traumas fester, rising as shadows. What if they watch us now, judging our silences? Lingering question, are the Ashcroft sisters truly gone, or do they await the final atonement? In Tulsa's streets on quiet nights, some still hear laughter like shattering glass, see pale figures in mirrors. Perhaps they're not haunting a town, but all of us, until truth prevails. Remember, listener, the shadow behind you grows longer. Sleep well, if you can. Until next time, when another forgotten bloodline calls.